So today we're going to be talking about the 20 key phrases that you can use to disarm and shut down a narcissist. Make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video where I give you 5 key phrases that you can use with a narcissistic mom or a narcissistic parent. So to begin this video, it's important that we recognize that narcissism exists on a spectrum. And narcissists, in a nutshell, are people who lack empathy for you, who feel entitled to exploit you emotionally. So when we're talking about, how do I know that, someone actually is a narcissist? You're going to be looking for patterns. You're going to look for people or patterns in people where you notice that there's an inability to take accountability. You're going to notice that a narcissist tends to lie. A narcissist tends to shift blame, right? So their hand is caught in the cookie jar and they're saying, nope, not me, you're crazy. That's not my hand, that's not even a cookie, right? And you're left like scratching your head. A narcissist, if you're in a relationship with a narcissist, a romantic relationship, they are known to have affairs. They do feel entitled to have affairs. Not all narcissists cheat. An overt narcissist is more likely to cheat than a vulnerable narcissist, but a vulnerable narcissist can also cheat. They'll just blame you for why they're cheating. It'll be because there's something about you that they couldn't trust, and you didn't love them anyway, so that's what gave them the right to cheat. So if you're in love with a narcissist, it's not uncommon for a narcissist to be unfaithful. When it comes to narcissism, like I said, you're looking for patterns. You're looking for this grandiose sense of self where they really do see themselves as better than, more significant than other people. So they will name drop. They will put other people down. They don't treat people that can do nothing for them very well. A narcissist will treat people well if you are someone that can offer them something. If you have a large network and you can help a narcissist advance their career, a narcissist might love bomb you in a way to make sure that they can get in within your graces so that you can actually do something for them. You're not seen as an autonomous person who has feelings and who has emotions and who has a right to not even want to be with them, not even like them. Your experience of a narcissist is going to be, in the beginning, it might not be obvious, right? In the beginning, you may feel charmed by someone. You may feel sorry for a narcissist that has a sob story. But I think what you'll notice over time is that there is this lack of ability to take accountability. There is this grandiose sense of self or self-importance. So they're people that feel within their right to cut the line. They feel within their right to step on people to get where they want to get. They are people who feel comfortable when other people are uncomfortable. They tend to be high conflict personalities, meaning that they're the type of people that find a problem wherever they go. And it's never their fault. They never recognize like, wow, I'm the common denominator. Think about your friend who gets thrown out of every health club she joins or he joins, right? Just can't get along with the members, feels entitled, rushes people out of the showers, or demands that his bill be looked at before everyone else's bill. That type of entitlement, right? But this is going to be something that you see over time because everybody has a bad day, right? Everybody's going to have a bad moment. Everyone's going to be reactive. We're human beings. We are more subconscious than we are conscious. We have an amygdala. We have a limbic system that reacts to stress. We're not perfect. We're here to evolve. None of us were born perfect. Part of being a human being means that you are more unconscious or subconscious than you are conscious, which means that you are more tethered to your ego and survival than you are enlightenment or any ability to see a situation that you're in outside of ego. That has to be something that you work for. Enlightenment doesn't just show up. Recovery just doesn't show up. You first recognize that there's a problem, and then you set achievable goals, and you reach those goals, and then you gain wisdom, you gain knowledge, and your behavior changes. And you eventually get to a point where you realize that there was really very little to gain by being reactive and living a subconscious life. So when you're dealing with a narcissist, you're dealing with someone who's not self-aware. You're dealing with someone who doesn't want to be self-aware. You're dealing with somebody who rebukes any sense of blame, right? They don't want you to make them feel guilty. You're dealing with somebody who literally enjoys hurting other people, where this idea that you're squirming in your seat and they're making you feel uncomfortable, and that when they're persecuting you, when you find out that they've been triangulating you or smearing their name, the fact that you are uncomfortable, that you're crying about this, that you're begging for their approval, that you're begging them to understand how they hurt you. This is all a source of narcissistic supply. And it's like, if you think about a battery that's really low, the more of a supply, the more of a reaction that a narcissist is able to get out of you, then that's their battery has been charged. But so you're looking for this type of a pattern in someone over time, right? And there are extreme narcissists and malignant narcissists. There are narcissists that will do very terrible things to you. Hopefully you don't bump into anyone like that. And hopefully you're dealing with the more garden snake variety narcissist who has no clue that they're a narcissist, and who has no clue that they use people, who has no clue that they feel entitled, right? Because when you're entitled, that's a mindset. People owe you. You're the boss around town. Everybody doesn't know it, but they will soon. When you're a narcissist, they have the right to walk into any store and demand that the cashier take them first and listen to them and do things their way. I was in a Staples store yesterday, and this man had a fit when the person asked him to punch in his phone number for his rewards. I'm not doing this your way. I have to do things my way. Now, there's some truth to what he's saying, that he doesn't have to add his phone number. But then he went on to demand that he get extra points for something that he wasn't entitled to. And then he ridiculed the way the woman looked behind the register. And then he went and he ridiculed the second person, the manager that showed up, right? He was belligerent. He was obstinate. He was arrogant. He was self-righteous. It was just a mess. And it all unfolded in about 7 or 8 minutes. It was just absolutely amazing to watch, how he totally flipped the script on something so innocent as please punch in your phone number if you want to get your rewards. How he totally used that to abuse the cashiers and to ask for more. Very, very interesting to observe. So this is something, even maybe you or I could have a bad moment like that. But if you know someone where these moments are ongoing, they never end, you might be dealing with somebody who is more narcissistic than they are anything else. So I hope you're ready, because I've gone to work and I've created a list of 20 key phrases that you can use to shut down a narcissist. The last key phrases are going to be the types of things that you can say to a narcissistic mom, right? Somebody who is trying to make you feel guilted, right? So those are going to be the last 5 statements. So the first 5 statements have to do with avoiding a conversation with a narcissist altogether. So the first thing that you want to say to a narcissist is, you are entitled to your faulty perception of me. So when you say to a narcissist, you are entitled to feel how you feel, and you're entitled to your perception of me, what you're doing is you're releasing any attachment to try to convince them that you are not who they think you are. When you're dealing with a narcissist, you're dealing with someone who has created a false self. And part of this fantasy is that they have a version of you that is not real. It's part of the fantasy. And so when the narcissist was idealizing you, then their perception of you was awesome. As you begin to push back on a narcissist, not so much. So they lack object constancy. So a narcissist is not going to be able to see someone as being able to be difficult or to confront them and not be a terrible person, right? So, in everyday life, when you're married, when you have children, you are confronted by this person when you do things that they don't like that you do, which is a normal day-to-day thing. And when you're dealing with a healthy person, if you're doing something to annoy them, they tell you. And they ask you to please stop. And if you're healthy, you listen to that. And because this person has proved to you that they have the ability to respect you, you negotiate that, right? But you negotiate knowing that you both have the same ground. You can't negotiate if you don't know what you want, right? It doesn't make any sense. So when people negotiate in a relationship, it's because they want the same thing. They want to be on the same page, right? So if you have a history with someone and you know that this person and you want the same thing, you want to be seen, you want to be valued, you want to come at this relationship in a mutual loving way, you're willing to negotiate when your spouse says, hey, when you're cracking your gum and watching TV, that's kind of annoying. Can you cut it out? Oh, okay, I can see that. Didn't mean to upset you, right? Because you both have the same goal. When you say to a narcissist, you're entitled to your faulty perception of me, you liberate yourself. You've been kicked out of the narcissistic paradigm, the societal paradigm, which says you have to follow my rule. You have to follow the crowd. You have to be a sheep, right? You have to be subordinate to me. You're saying, no, I don't. You can have your faulty perception of me, and I'm okay with that, which is a very liberating thing to say, especially if you mean it. Second thing, I'm not responsible for your reality of me or this situation. So what you're doing is you're saying to someone with high narcissistic traits that you understand that you two don't see this the same way. And as far as you're concerned, that's okay. When it comes to people with high narcissistic traits, they want to feel tethered to you. So it's like there's this link between you and them, right? It's almost like a collar to them, right? And they want you, if they yank you to the left, they want you to go left. If they yank you right, you want to go right. So one of the manipulative tools that a narcissist uses, and I think it's probably their greatest tool, is trying to get you to believe that you are responsible for how they see you, right? Because if you're responsible for how they see you, you stay on this treadmill trying to convince this narcissist that this situation isn't what they think it is. So think about how oftentimes a narcissist accuses you of cheating, of having a girlfriend, or having a boyfriend, or loving a past lover more than you love them, right? Think about all of the things that a narcissist accuses you of that are maddening. Now, when you're hooked, what you do is you stay on that treadmill and you try to convince this narcissist that what they think is not real. And this hamster's wheel continues. So you saying, I'm not responsible for your perception of this experience or your reality. I'm just not responsible for it. But, I can also accept it. You are taking this hook out of you and you're leaving it there at the narcissist's feet. And you are breaking through this matrix, which has you falsely believing that the narcissist has control over you. And we have to be careful about this in society because the beauty industry tells us what is right and what is wrong, what is acceptable, what is unacceptable. We know that gray hair is not acceptable. How do we know that? Because advertisers are always advertising ways in which we can eliminate gray hair, right? So we're being subliminally programmed to think that gray hair is bad. No, it's not. Gray hair is just gray hair, and some people go premature gray. So it's not bad. It's just an experience. But part of this narcissistic spectrum or narcissistic paradigm that we all live in is set up to make us feel like there's some person we should be following or some rule of thought that we should be following. And we need to break through that. That is the true revolution that we need to experience on the soul level as well as in our relationships. So the next thing that you can say is your anger is your anger, and I'm sorry you are angry, but I am not responsible for your experiences of this situation. So again, what these key phrases are doing is really helping you to disengage and to send the message that I see you. And I know you're trying to make me responsible for your feelings, your perceptions, and even your anger, your emotions. And I, as an autonomous 3D human being, recognize that maybe that's the way I was before, but I'm not like that anymore. And I am not responsible for your anger, and it's okay that you're angry. Remember, a narcissist wants to intimidate you into feeling responsible for their anger Why? So that they can turn you into a lackey. So they can turn you into a follower. So they can turn you into a subordinate. So they can turn you into a fawning, people-pleasing, acquiescing codependent, someone who is highly agreeable and who believes that it's their job to make sure that this person never gets angry. This is really difficult if you are a codependent and you have grown up in a family that made you feel invisible, and your mother was a narcissist or your father was a narcissist, or you grew up with alcoholism and you were ignored. You may have, absorbed this idea that it's your fault that you didn't get the nurturing that you needed. And when that is the case, you might be a natural people pleaser, a natural agreeable person, a natural fawning person, right? A natural people pleaser, a natural rescuer. Very dangerous when you are in the company of a narcissist who will see these vulnerabilities and exploit them as a way to keep you tethered to them. Why? So they can plug into you. So they can juice themselves up for narcissistic supply. And remember, narcissistic supply is positive or negative. It doesn't matter. It's just supply. So it doesn't matter if, it's water, or it's milk, or it's Kool-Aid, or it's juice. It's any sort of supply, right? So a narcissist is going to upset you and try to play with your head and get you to be upset, which is, that translates into power over you, which is going to charge their battery. So when you say your anger is not my responsibility and I can accept that you're angry, you are cutting that chain off, right? The next thing you can say is, I'm permitted to have my own experience and I am okay with the fact that we disagree. Again, what you're saying to a narcissist is that it's okay that you have that reality and I have my reality. So what you're saying to someone is, I know that I'm an autonomous being and I see you as an autonomous being, and this thing that you used to be able to do to me, you can't do it to me anymore. So be angry if you want to. Have your faulty perception of me if you need to. See this situation any way you want to, because I'm entitled to have my own experience of this experience that's separate from you, and I'm okay that we aren't even in agreement with it. The next thing that you can say is, we're just going to have to agree to disagree. Again, it's about separating yourself from the grips of a narcissist, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. You don't have to agree with someone who has high narcissistic traits, but a narcissist is going to try to make you feel like you have to. So those are the key phrases that you can use to avoid a conversation and avoid going down a rabbit hole, and to disengage and to create some space between you and this narcissistic person. Now, to stay on point, here are 5 things that you can do, that you can say, 5 key phrases that you can say to stay on point. First thing, let's get back to the subject at hand. The reason that this is so important is because a narcissist is always going to try to change the subject. So you find out that the narcissist has texted one of your best friends and has suggested that he meet up with them while you're on a business call, out of town, right? And you confront the narcissist and you tell the narcissist that, hey, Sheila told me that you want to meet up with her, after, I'm gone. Like, what's up with that? So a narcissist might shift the story, like, well, what about the time that you went and you met so-and-so while you were at a business meeting? And then if you're not clever, what you'll do is you'll say, well, I did that because he was an associate of mine and I went there to work on this project with him. That's why I met him. And, we met for dinner because, it was just easier for us to meet for dinner. We both got in late. And so you see what's happening? It's just like detail, 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 right? So now you're giving the narcissist all this ammunition. You're defending yourself. So now it's like, well, did his wife know that he met you for lunch? What do you mean? Or dinner? What do you mean, did his wife know? What does that matter, right? So now deeper, 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 deeper. What happened? The narcissist took you off track. So what you want to do is, in the future, you want to say, can we just go back to what we were talking about? Can we just stay on the subject matter? The subject matter is that you texted my best friend and asked her to meet you when you knew that I was going to be out of town. And every time the narcissist tries to take you off point, go back to, can we just stay on point with this subject? Now, you are going to have to remind yourself not to defend yourself, because your amygdala might get activated. Like, the things that a narcissist is going to say might infuriate you, right? But that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to excite you, get you upset, trigger your survival instinct, put you into fight or flight, right? Say something really, really harmful so that you don't stay on point. So that first key phrase will help you stay on point. The next key phrase, let's try not to bring up the past, and let's try to resolve this issue. So when the narcissist tries to bring up the past, right, it's pretty easy to recognize. Yeah, but when you did this. Yeah, but what about when you said that? Yeah, but you never appreciated at the time that I was on time. Okay, so let's say the narcissist is supposed to pick you up after work. You've had a long day, right? You left your car at home because the narcissist said she's going to pick you up at 7:30 at the train, right? Lo and behold, it's 7:30. The narcissist is nowhere to be found. Turns out she went to play tennis, and then she went out for a drink for happy hour with the girls that she plays tennis with, and you've had to take 2 or 3 buses to get back home. You're so upset when you get back home. She strolls through the door at about 11 o'clock, a little bit intoxicated, and you say, "What's up?" Right? A narcissist is not going to say, "I'm sorry, I screwed up, I forgot, it never should have happened, and it's never going to happen again." And they're not going to mean it. Even if those words come out of their mouth, they're not going to mean it. It's going to happen again. It's going to happen again, dear one. I promise you it's going to happen again and again and again if you're dealing with a narcissist. So what you want to do is, in this situation, be very smart and make sure that you stay on point. You want to resolve this issue, right? So the narcissist says something like, "I don't know why you're so upset. What's the big deal? It's always about you. You were gone all week. I was here all by myself." First of all, don't go down that rabbit hole, because her being alone all week has nothing to do with her needing to show up for you the day she said she was going to show up for you, okay? Nothing to do with it, right? So you got to be careful you're not led down that path, right? Stay on point. So you say to, "Can we try to stay on this subject?" "Well, how come you don't care that I was there when I picked you up, 2 years ago? I was there on time, and you never, threw a bouquet of roses at me when I did that. You don't appreciate anything I do. I took care of the dogs. I took care of your cat." It doesn't matter that she's living there rent-free, right? And that you pay for everything, and she's feeding your cat. Like, is that really such a hard thing to do, to feed my cat so it doesn't die? No, it's not. But when you deal with a narcissist, right, they don't see the big picture. They see their reality, and the reality is they're entitled to have you take care of them because they are more significant than you. And you are so lucky to be with them, by the way. Did you know that, dear one? Yeah, that's the way they think. And so if you have a narcissist that likes to bring up the past to try to shift blame and try to get you off point, go into, "I would like to not bring up the past, and I would like to just talk about this particular issue so we can resolve it." Try that key phrase. The next key phrase, let's refrain from name calling, and let's see if we can stay on point. Remember, these key phrases are all to help you stay on point. So, very common, a narcissist will call you names. A narcissist will call you crazy or a wacko. A narcissist will tell you you're being too sensitive, you're being too dramatic. Now, listen, we can all be overly dramatic. That's why I started this video off by saying that you're looking for patterns, right? So if I'm getting upset with my husband and he says, "Lee, you're getting a little dramatic," I filter that through my brain and ask myself, is that true? Because most of the times I'm not dramatic, right? Most of the time I'm pretty even-keeled, right? So if my husband's noticing me get way too involved in a conversation or way too upset about something, I value his opinion. And he says it because me being overreactive is not a pattern, right? So if you're in a relationship with someone who calls you names and says or implies that you're being overdramatic and it's a pattern and you know that you're not, right? You're just trying to resolve an issue. That's a red flag. And so what you want to do is make sure the moment anyone or a narcissist calls you a name, you don't call them a name back, right? You stand there and you say, let's refrain from name calling. That says, I'm in control, sweetie pie, and I'm not falling for these issues. I'm not falling for this name calling stuff. I am unaffected. I'm rubber and you're a glue. And whatever you say to me bounces off of me and sticks on you, right? So sticks and stones, right? So we want to make very sure that we let this narcissist know, we're not doing that. Okay, so let's stop name calling and let's just try to resolve this issue. The narcissist is not going to want to resolve the issue. So the name calling, they're hoping, is going to send you into a tailspin, break you down, and get you to stop talking about what needs to be talked about. Next key phrase, I don't have to stand here and talk to someone who disrespects me, right? So remember, this is all about wanting to stay on point with someone. And if you get to a point with a narcissist who is name calling, blame shifting, it's just accusing you of things that you're not guilty of, and it's absolutely impossible to stay on point, you have the right to say, I'm feeling disrespected and I don't think I want to engage in this conversation anymore, right? So I have a right. Again, you have to claim your I. You need a little bit of narcissism in yourself. Healthy narcissism is, I have an I. And this I is someone that I can respect. And this I is someone that I'm going to protect from people who are abusive, right? So it's totally within your right when you're dealing with a narcissist or any time to say, I'm feeling disrespected and we're not getting anywhere. You can't stay on point or you refuse to stay on point. So I'm going to disengage, right? So that's another key phrase. The fifth key phrase in this category is there is no need to get defensive, right? I simply want to resolve this issue with you. So a narcissist is going to get defensive whenever you confront them about anything. Remember, a narcissist does not want to take accountability, right? A narcissist does not want to take responsibility. A narcissist needs for you to know there's a pecking order and they're the head pigeon. They're in control and you need to know that. There is no such thing as a mutual relationship. There is no such thing as, I'm sorry that I hurt you, please forgive me, and I love you, and I will never do it again. Healthy people can hear that and make adjustments in their behavior and even in their attitudes when someone they trust, I'm not talking about a narcissist because you're never going to be enough for a narcissist, right? I'm talking about someone that you trust and who is fair with you. You're a good friend or a blunt friend. It's like, hey, knock it off, you're being an idiot. Oh, okay. You're right, I'm being an idiot. I'm not talking about, a narcissistic friend. I'm talking about a blunt, honest friend. And if you've got one, that's an amazing thing because we all need a blunt, honest friend. But if you're dealing with a narcissist, then this is all going to be par for the course, calling you names, projecting. They're going to be accusatory. They don't trust you, and they want you to understand that they are in control of you. So when you say there's no need to get defensive, what you're doing is you're basically calling them out and saying, we're not adversaries. But understand that inside a narcissist's head, they feel that they are. You are their adversary because you are a threat. And the threat is that if they lose control, then that's a threat to their ability to regulate their own emotions. So you are a threat. Any person that a narcissist knows is a threat, which is why a narcissist has to work so hard at manipulation and control. So that's something to think about. So make sure that if you feel like your back is up against a wall and you're going nowhere, listen, there's no need to get defensive. It feels like you're getting defensive. I don't mean to make you feel defensive. I'm sorry if I've made you feel defensive, but you know what? I only wanted to resolve this issue with you. And, if that's not something that you want to do, then I'm entirely okay with agreeing to disagree at this point. Bye, Felicia. Then you say bye. And you move on, right? Because I think that one of the best things that you can do with a narcissist is shutty, right? Shutty. You say nothing. Okay, you're upset. Okay, whatever. But sometimes key phrases can help. So now, I really like this list. This is a list of key phrases posed as questions, which whenever you ask someone a question, a different area of their brain has to become activated. So it's a way to short circuit a narcissist. It doesn't always work, and depending on what type of narcissist you're dealing with. Again, if you're dealing with like the garden variety narcissist, you're dealing with somebody who's essentially an emotional bully, who is really very fragile on the inside, and they are deathly afraid of you setting a boundary, and they are deathly afraid of you walking away and abandoning them, right? You know, it never made sense to me until I studied narcissism. In my first marriage, I used to say to my ex-husband, if you want me here and you want me to love you, why do you say such nasty things to me? Like, I don't want to be close to you. I can't feel close to you. Like when you're mean to me, or you call me crazy, or you call me a wacko, you call me a flake, or you tell me that no one is ever going to love me, and you know, I'm all used up and I have all this baggage. When you say that you rescued me, I was nothing before I met you. Like, when you put me down, like, what's going on in your head? It wasn't until I studied narcissism that I understood that in his mind, if he knocked me off at the knees, and he actually admitted to me about 7 years after our divorce, he actually said, I just thought that if I broke you down, you wouldn't leave me. So it was this idea of breaking me down so that I would be too weak to leave him, and he would always have me with him, which it has taken me years to feel sorry for that mindset, because what a sad way to live your life, to think that in order to get your needs met, you have to beat people down and criticize them, right? And make them feel less than in order for them to stay with you. It's really quite sad when you think about it. And you know, that's one school of thought. Then the other school of thought is that's downright mean. That's sick, you know, and some would say evil. That in order for you to feel good in your own skin, you need to cast out the light of another person's soul so that they need you, right? So, or they think that they need you. And to me, it's like very, very sad. But understanding narcissism and understanding this idea that, you know, they fear you abandoning them. And so if they cripple you emotionally and physically, spiritually, and financially, then it's very difficult for you to leave them. If they isolate you, right? If they tell you that your friends hate you, if they tell you that your family is jealous of you or jealous of them, and your friends are jealous of you, and they separate you from the things that you love, if they get you to quit their job, right, and you're financially dependent upon them, then you never leave them. And so it's really sad. You know, we really have to understand that when two people love each other, to me, I always think about a bird in a hand. You know, a quick story. I rescued a hummingbird, and I had the hummingbird sitting in my hand, and I was feeding it sugar water, and the hummingbird was very happy in my hand. But the minute I went to close my hand, I was going to put the hummingbird inside this cage. The hummingbird took off. And I thought, what a great analogy for love. So love feels open-handed. In other words, when a narcissist says they love you, their fist is clenched, right? And you feel it. It's suffocating. It's constrictive. It doesn't feel right. There's a lot of resistance in the relationship. There's a lot of begging. There's a lot of defending. There's a lot of persecution, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of anxiety. It never ends. Lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. And then when you're free of this narcissism, suddenly your heart space opens up, and love feels like, you know, open-handed, meaning that you're free to come and you're free to go. With the narcissist, you're not free to come and you're not free to go. You know, they have to control everything. So it's important that you think about that also. So let's get to the questions that you can ask someone who you think has narcissism or is on the narcissistic spectrum. So the first question, are you saying I need your permission to feel my feelings? Ooh, whoa, wow. You say to someone who's trying to use crazy-making, word salad, nonsensical communication to mess with your head, are you saying that I need permission from you to feel my feelings, right? Mind-boggling. Like a narcissist, like it'll be like does not compute, because a narcissist doesn't want to give themselves up. A narcissist doesn't want to say, you don't have a right to your feelings, although some narcissists will say that, as a matter of fact, But the average narcissist doesn't see that that's what they're doing. They feel entitled to exploit your feelings. Their feelings are more important than yours. So when you confront them with that logic, like, are you saying I need permission to feel my feelings, right? It throws them off their game. And so that's a really great question that you can ask someone who is suggesting that you don't have a right to your feelings, right? This can come up, let's say you have an experience of your spouse's mom, right? And your spouse comes in and says, you're crazy. My mother didn't say that. My sister didn't say that. You don't have a right to say that. You don't have a right to feel that. That's ridiculous. And you hit them with, are you saying that I need permission to feel what I feel? Mind-boggling. Whoa. Let me know. If you try that, let me know how that works, because that is fun. The next question. Are you suggesting that I need permission to have my own reality? So it's piggybacking off of, are you saying I need permission to feel my feelings? You're piggybacking off of that question. And what you're saying to a narcissist is that I know that I had my reality or my experience of this situation, and it's my experience of this situation. Now, I've shared with you my experience or my reality of this situation, and you're telling me that my reality is wrong. So are you ultimately saying that I need permission to experience my reality? Right? Again, a narcissist's brain will fart. Like, what? What? I remember when I started asking my ex-husband these questions, like literally his eyes went dead. Like seriously, like deer in the headlights. Like I said something that just the way I used to explain it to my best friend, I was like, Vic, I said this, and it was like his brain farted. He was like, what? Like, what? Yeah, seriously. What you're saying is you matter and I don't matter. But he never saw that himself. So it was quite amazing to watch. The next question. Are you saying your reality is more valid than mine, right? So again, we're piggybacking, right? So rather than permission, right? Because that's what a narcissist is doing. A narcissist, whether they're aware of it or not, is suggesting that you need permission to think and to feel and to experience and have your own reality, right? Now, when you're saying to a narcissist, is your reality more valid than mine? That's where you're stepping into the actual reality of this 3D space, is that they're separate from you and they're entitled to their own reality of whatever situation that you two are trying to experience, right? When you're dealing with a narcissist, you're never on the same page. You're in two different worlds, right? And you never get through to them. You can't get through to them because the world that they live in is a fantasy, right? It's a construct, right? And they never even let you in. So you'll never get to a narcissist's vulnerabilities. You'll never completely reach a narcissist, right? So you're always going to get some layer of this fantasy. And so when you say to them, are you saying that your reality is more valid than my reality? You're really poking them with, dude or chica, we're two separate people. You're entitled to your reality, and I'm entitled to my reality. We're just trying to meet in the middle. It's like, wake up, So that also might be helpful for you. Fourth key phrase that you can say, a really great question that you can use is, are you suggesting that the only perception, the only reality that matters is yours? Again, you're suggesting to a narcissist that you are recognizing this enmeshment. You are recognizing this need to be superior, this need to manipulate you. You're calling it out. Are you suggesting that the only perspective, the only reality in this dynamic is yours? You're calling out the narcissism, which is going to make a narcissist very uncomfortable, right? And the narcissist might come back with, no, that's not what I'm saying. And they may even backpedal a little bit. Or they might be a deer in headlights. They might go, oh, forget about this. You're so difficult, right? Lots of cases, that's what will happen. Deer in headlights, oh, and they'll discard you. They don't want to have the conversation anymore. You never get from point A to point B when you're dealing with somebody who has narcissism. Never. It's always crazy making. And that was one of the things when I was struggling with, should I stay or should I go in my first marriage, when I realized that I could not get from point A to point B with my ex-husband. And it wasn't all his fault. I was highly dysfunctional myself as a codependent. And I had my own things to work through. But I wanted to work through it. And I wanted to look at myself. And I wanted to accept my flaws. And I wanted to be a better person. I knew that I was not the best version of myself. And I wanted to change. And that was a huge difference between me and my ex-husband. My ex-husband was like living with Moses. You know? He read the Bible in the bathroom. And so he was better than me, right? In his head, he was better than me. And so getting from point A to point B with someone who really does think that you owe them, right? And they never trust you in the beginning, ever anyway. I learned that my ex-husband never trusted me. You know, he always expected that the relationship was going to end. And I never knew that. You know, I entered it truly 100%. Loving him and wanting to know more about him. But towards the end of the marriage, it became very obvious that, wow, you never trusted me. There was never that desire to trust me. Now everything began to make sense. But that when I sat down, I realized that I'm never going to be able to get to point A from point B. I realized what a detriment that was to my own soul. And I realized the dysfunction that I was teaching my children. And that's when I knew that I was going to have to face whatever it was I had to face to end my marriage and move forward. And that was the greatest struggle of my life. But it liberated me and it freed me. So I understand what you're going through, dear ones. Question 5. Are you suggesting that your feelings are more valid than mine? Boom. So I remember one of the things that my ex-husband used to say to me all the time that messed with my head is, it's always about your feelings, Lisa. You're always talking about your feelings, your feelings, your feelings, you know? I don't want to always talk about your feelings, right? And I would feel so ashamed, you know? And then I realized that what he was doing, like I looked at him one day and I said, are you not having feelings right now? What do you mean? Are you not having feelings? Even if they're feelings of disgust for me, or you're aggravated by me, or you're annoyed by me, or you can't stand me in this moment, right? You're repulsed by me. Aren't those feelings? And there was the look, the dead look, like what's happening, right? He knew where I was going. So in my opinion, feelings are very important, you know? And if you're in a loving relationship, they matter. Should feelings be all you and your partner talk about? Absolutely not. There's a lot of fun to be had, right? And ultimately, we're all responsible for how we feel, right? And we're all responsible for making ourselves happy. And we want to manifest someone who's also responsible for their own feelings and can take care of themselves and is also generally happy. And you want to quantify that in a healthy, mutually satisfying relationship. You want to be challenged by one another so you continue to grow, right? But when you're dealing with a narcissist, you know, especially a narcissist who's so below the veil, they don't always realize that in their head, in their world, their feelings matter. And so while they're discounting your feelings and they're making fun of you for your feelings, when you turn it around and you say, are you saying that your feelings are more valid than my feelings? It'll make them like stop for a moment, because in lots of cases, they're going to understand where you're going and they're not going to like it, right? But it's important. This allows you the ability to psychologically disconnect, and it gives you the ability to understand what's happening in this relationship. You are being invalidated. Your experiences are being invalidated day in and day out. So when you say these questions, what you're doing for yourself is you're building your own self up. You're esteeming yourself. You're saying, I matter. Codependents cannot esteem themselves. They don't have an I. They don't know who they are. But you know what? When you ask questions like this, you are helping to identify the problem. And only when you identify the problem can you ever hope to identify a solution. So you might have been waiting for these questions. So these are the 5 key questions, or actually the 5 key phrases you can use on a narcissistic mother and even a narcissistic dad. So, narcissistic parents are notorious for guilt. Well, guilt blaming. They want to blame you for things that are not your fault. They want to pull you into this sick, dysfunctional family unit. They want to punish you when you go against the grain. How dare you not come to Sunday dinner for the 27th year in a row? You know, like how many of you have been forced to go to a Sunday meal for 20-something odd years, and God forbid you go to a football game, or you do something besides go to your mother or your mother-in-law's house for another meal at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, it's like, and God forbid you say you're going to do it. I remember one time I made the mistake of making a hair appointment. I was working 7 days a week, and I made an appointment. The only appointment I could get it was on a Sunday, and I said no to a family member. Holy Hannah, I was guilted like you could not believe. And yet, I was the kind of person, I'm still this way. If I invite you over and you can't make it, I'm cool. I'm not uncool, as Luann from the Housewives would say. I'm not going to be all uncool. You can't make it. That's cool. Do you, boo? I'm not going to judge you, right? But when you're dealing with a narcissist, especially a vulnerable narcissist who wants to control you and manipulate you and stir the pot, any chance they get to make you feel guilty for doing something that you haven't done to hurt them, any opportunity for them to play the victim, they go and jump on it. Okay, so one of the first things that you can say, one of the first key phrases you can say to avoid feeling guilty by a narcissistic family member, especially a mom, is, I would rather talk about what is realistically my responsibility and your responsibility than to be guilt tripped. So what you're saying to a narcissistic parent is, I got your number, okay? And again, we're looking for this autonomy. We're looking to send the message to a family member who, especially if your family is narcissistic and everybody's got to do the same thing, you know, and there's a boss mind and everyone's got to go with the boss mind, and God forbid you go against the boss mind, there's hell to pay if you go against the boss mind, right? It's maddening, okay? We all come here to incarnate as individuals, right? Individualizations of the Godhead, you know, of source or whatever. If you don't believe in God, you don't believe in source. You came here to be an individual human being, right? To live out what's true for you, to live out your innate gifts. And every single person has gifts. You could play the harmonica like nobody else plays the harmonica. You can paint like no one else. You can do a Rubik's Cube like no one else. You can figure out energy circuits like no one else. You could fix a tire like no one else. There's something that you do. You can fold laundry like no one else's business. I can't fold laundry. I suck at folding laundry. I really do. I can't stand to fold laundry, but you might be great at it, right? There's something that you can do better than anybody else. That's a fact, right? So you incarnate on earth to be an individual, but when you were born into a narcissistic dysfunctional family with immature parents, no bueno. You're not allowed to be that one person that wants to break free. You're not allowed. And what they'll use is guilt trips. They will guilt trip you into feeling bad about not doing what your mother wanted you to do, or look what you did to Uncle Giuseppe. You made Uncle Giuseppe so sad because you didn't come for his meatballs on Sunday, right? Or look what you did to Uncle Fester. Uncle Fester's so upset because you didn't go to his car meet and he worked so hard on that car, and you had to go to that graduation of your daughters or your stepdaughters, and how dare you not show up for Uncle Fester. You get the picture, right? So when you say to a family member, I'm cracking up because things like this, you know, they happen all the time. Yeah. I'm cracking up. It is what it is, dear ones. This is the stuff we have to deal with as we try to become grown-up, autonomous, relatable human beings in a functional way. This is what we got to go through. All right, it is what it is. I hope these tools help you. So when you say to someone, look, I want to talk about what's realistically my responsibility and what's realistically your responsibility. And can we do that without you guilt-tripping me? Right? So in other words, it's nice that Uncle Fester has an old-fashioned car and he wants to show it off. It's very nice. But you know what? It was my stepdaughter's graduation, and it's my responsibility to be there, right? So when you're saying that, what you're doing is you're recognizing that I know that I'm an autonomous human being and I'm not responsible for how Uncle Fester feels. And by the way, Ma, it's all about you, because it made you feel better that you had all your little minions around Uncle Fester's car. So it makes you feel good about having this great family, right? You're seeing right through it. So don't allow people to guilt trip you. So that's the first key phrase that you can use in that situation. The second one is, guilting me isn't going to get me to behave as you want me to. So again, you're calling it out. You're saying it to your mom, you're saying it to your dad, you're saying it to your aunt, your brothers. Listen, this guilt tripping stuff is not necessary. You know, you're not going to be able to guilt trip me into doing what you want me to do. If I want to do it, then I will do it. And if mom's crying in the corner because I refuse to come to, Uncle so-and-so's car meet, or Uncle Sal's opening of his restaurant, or whatever it is, okay, I'm sorry that hurts, Mom, but I'm not responsible for Mom's perception of what that means. This is about Uncle Sal, right? Let Uncle Sal open up his restaurant. That's a great thing. I don't have to be there. I'm not flying from Australia to be there for this soft opening so Mom feels good. I'm not doing it, So it's about accountability, it's about autonomy, and it's about letting the people in your family know, ooh, my daughter or my son has boundaries. And you don't have to be mean about it. You just state a fact. I'm not responsible for how other people feel. And if you love me, you'd accept me. You would say, my son or my daughter can't fly from Australia. They're just not going to make it. They wish you well. But bump, and leave it there. That's this big drama, this nonsense, because someone didn't do what you didn't do what someone wanted you to do. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Number 3, I don't guilt you when you don't do what I want you to do. So please refrain from trying to guilt me. This is huge, because if you're a healthy person, and let's face it, again, I always say this, it's true. We don't come here as healthy as we could, right? And we shouldn't, because what would evolution be about? And what would growth be about, right? So growing is about evolving ourselves emotionally and cognitively, going from being irrational to more rational, and illogical to more logical. That's the growth process. We want to evolve up. Unfortunately, when we're raised by immature parents, we're raised by children. And we want to know why we struggle as adults. Well, ask yourself, were you raised by an adult? Were you raised by an autonomous individual? Or were you raised by a child? I was raised by children. And so when I understood that, I was like, oh, no wonder I'm so dysfunctional, and I'm so reactive. And so no wonder I seek approval everywhere. And no wonder it's so hard for me to feel like I fit in anywhere. I was raised by children, And so what do children do? They try to make you feel guilty. They stonewall you, I think it was Jordan Peterson who said that 2-year-olds are the most violent, right? 2-year-olds are violent little creatures, and they beat each other up in the sandbox because you look at them the wrong way or you took their toy. I mean, really, we're here to grow and we're here to evolve. So we may from time to time throw in a little bit of guilt towards someone. But, if we're healthy and we're non-narcissistic, then we'll feel uncomfortable with that, right? Our conscience will say, oh, you shouldn't have done that, Lisa, and we'll do a little recap in our head and go, oh, I don't want to do that again. That was mean. Or I don't want to do that again. I hurt my friend's feelings. Or, oh my God, my friend doubts that I really love them. I don't want to do that again, And this uncomfortable feeling is very beneficial because it helps you change, right? It helps you shed off those rough edges. It helps you become less resistant to not telling your truth, right? And so you don't have to guilt people. Guilting people is very immature. And if you don't guilt people, then call people out who do and say, listen, I don't guilt you. I don't want you guilting me. Let's talk about the issue at hand. Fourth thing that you can say is, it is sad to note how often you tend to try to guilt me into submission. So what you're doing is you're calling it out. You're saying, wow, I recognize that there's something that you want, and asking me to do it, I said no, or I said I was too busy, or I just didn't agree with you. And here it comes. Here comes that good old guilt trip. Now you are trying to guilt me, which is manipulation, into submission right? So you're trying to maintain control over me, right? So when you're dealing with a mom who is narcissistic, you will notice that guilt is used as a weapon to get you to do all sorts of things, right? Not date the girl that she doesn't want you to date, not date the boy that she doesn't want you to date, not go where she doesn't want you to go, not do what she doesn't want you to do, right? A mom who is narcissistic and who is jealous of her daughter will mess with her daughter's head. Oh, don't wear that. That makes you look fat. You know, don't do that. You shouldn't wear your hair like that. You might look amazingly gorgeous, right? But if you're dealing with a jealous narcissistic mom who is highly immature and dysfunctional, and who is angry because she hasn't lived out her own fulfilled life, she can project that onto her daughter. And so you might look amazing, but she'll sabotage the way that you look, and she'll suggest that you look fat. You can see the cellulite through the pants. Maybe you should change them. All this passive aggressive covert crap, you know, that's what she'll do. And so when you call someone out on a guilt trip, then you are basically saying, I see you, and I don't like the way this makes me feel, and I recognize that you're trying to do this pecking order thing. Now remember, what we're trying to do, wouldn't it be awesome if everybody just loved one another? Wouldn't it be awesome if everybody just saw each other as equal? Wouldn't it be awesome if we could just all get along? Wouldn't it be awesome if we understood that we come here to evolve our own souls and everybody else is on their own journey? Even if you take that mind shift and you think about that mindset when you're dealing with a narcissist, you know that you can't help them and that engaging in the narcissistic relationship is going to keep them stuck. So in theory, you're actually helping a narcissist if you call them out on this type of behavior, depending on what type of narcissist you're dealing with. From time to time, I'm reminded by someone who says, it does depend on what type of a narcissist you're dealing with. You know, you should not be with someone who is violent, and the quicker you can get away from someone who's violent, the better, right? Take some time to get there, you know, and there are some skill sets that you need to back out of that relationship. But again, these key phrases are for the garden variety narcissist. So when you're calling someone out and you're saying, I recognize that you're trying to use this and guilt me into submission, you know, that's calling someone out, and that might stop someone in their tracks. And, oh, no, that was not what, oh, if you don't want to come, you don't have to come. Okay, thank you. You know, so I'm recognizing that you're hearing me. Like, you recognize that, you know, I'm busy that day and I'm not going to be able to make it, and I'm not changing my plans, and you're not going to guilt me anymore because I refuse to do that. You're going to respect my no. Like, that's amazing. I appreciate that, dear one. That's great. Let's shake on it, right? Because you have a right to do what you want to do. You have a right to have that dinner party, and I have a right to say no, right? And you're not going to hate me and smear my name, right? Because I'm not coming. Are you? You know? But, you know, that's a great question to ask someone who you think might have high narcissistic traits. Okay, the last question, the last thing that you can say to someone with high narcissistic traits, especially a mom, is, I'm entitled to live as an adult, and trying to guilt me into doing what you want me to do is not a healthy thing to do. So what you're basically saying is you're calling this out as unhealthy behavior. You're saying, Mom, I don't want to do this. You know, like, you want me to do something and it feels like you're trying to guilt me. I'm really not into it. Like, you know, it's not going to work. I prefer that you just ask me a question and allow me to give you an honest answer so I can be authentic and I can tell you what's really going on with me, and hopefully you can accept that, and hopefully you don't make this all about you and what everybody else thinks about our family, and I'm allowed to be an autonomous human being and I can be me and you can accept it. Wouldn't that be nice, Mom? Wouldn't that be nice? You know? So again, what you're doing is you're saying, I'm an autonomous human being and I have an I, and I'm developing healthy narcissism, and I'm developing the ability to say no. And I really don't want to be guilt tripped by you. So calling it out with a narcissistic mom can be very powerful. Although I will say that when you're trying to extract yourself from a narcissistic family, it can be devastating and challenging because it goes against your survival. instincts, because survival is all about bonding. Survival is about getting along. Survival is about feeling needed, by your mom and loved by your mom, and you being able to need your mom, right? And then the need is a healthy need. But when you're in a dysfunctional family, the need is dysfunctional. The need is enmeshment, and detaching from that it can be very triggering, because when you excise yourself from a dysfunctional family, then all of your abandonment trauma and your attachment triggers, they all get triggered. And then what? Then you have to face the reality that you, like me, like everybody, at the end of the day, it's like Shakespeare says, to be or not to be, that is the question. Am I going to be me, or am I going to be you? I did an interview yesterday, and one of the things that I said was, extracting yourself from a dysfunctional family is like being born a liver cell and then waking up and realizing that you want to be a brain cell. And you have to completely morph into a brain cell, right? And, every liver cell is saying, no, don't go, stay a liver cell. How dare you? How dare you? You're mean to leave us, right? And you're like, but I really want to be a brain cell. I really don't want to be a liver cell anymore, It's tough, and it really is like the hero's journey, to become an autonomous, self-loving, self-accountable, self-reliant, self-accepting, self-forgiving, self-compassionate, self-empathic, or empathy-giving to the self human being, especially when, the people that you love the most are suggesting that you don't have a right to do that. So I really hope that this video on the 20 key phrases that you can use to shut down a narcissist have been helpful. Please reach out to me at www.lisaaromano.com. You can join my newsletter. Feel free to leave me a comment below to let me know how you enjoyed this video, and let me know if any of the key phrases actually worked for you. And if you're interested in the 12-week breakthrough coaching program, then check out my website at www.lisaaromano.com. If you're somebody who struggles with codependency or who has been abused by a narcissistic parent, this program has been designed to help you become the autonomous, authentic human being you were born to be. Never give up demanding the best from life, because that is your birthright. Bye, everybody. Namaste. Until next time. Bye for now. If you love this content, check out the next video, and don't forget to click the link below so you can take the codependency quiz. Narcissist gets to trigger our abandonment trauma. It's the way a narcissist projects their own wounds onto us. It's the way a narcissist accuses us of things that they are guilty of, right? That makes us wonder, are we crazy?